part 2 to what if Deku was one all for one's clone. Now, we're going to continue this video off with Deku basically, Toshinari getting ready to fire up 35% of One For All. Now, before I start the video though, I'm gender bending 2 people, which I really wasn't going to gender bend anyone in the what if, but people were basically asking for it. They were asking for a gender bend Todoroki and a gender bend Tokiyami. So I'll just decide which one would basically be the ship as I go on. I don't know why. I don't think Deku would want bird flu, but still. Now, All Might's looking at his 2 sons, he's thinking, as he has a smile on his face. The smile goes bigger, which everyone would notice it. And Toshinari would rush at Deku, and basically their clash would level the building, which All Might's like, shit. That's enough, boys, as he stops the fight. And basically, Deku, he had a room where he basically just protected the bomb from the debris. So he's like, as All Might looks at the other, basically, recording of Deku stopping the bomb with his tendrils, he's like, alright, villain team wins. As basically Toshinari's like, But what? As he's like, first of all, he's like, alright, I'll explain why later. Well, when you get into the room. As he starts to talk to him about how they messed up. He's like, first of all, Midoriya. You. He's like, actually no, you really didn't do anything wrong, but Toshinari, you used you used a lot of your power in a confined space, and you knew that if you were to clash with Midoriya over here, that Izuku Yagi, I don't know why I keep calling him a Midoriya. I noticed that mistake and I'm still making it. So he's like, Izuku, if you clashed with Izuku, that your clash would basically level the building. You know this from your 10 months of training. So, and yet you still did it. And basically Toshinari's like, shit, I forgot about that. So he's basically bummed out. Now, Deku, he's just standing there. Nothing really is different. He just has a blank stare. As he's like, alright, that is why the villain team wins. As Tokiyami's like, alright. As she would walk over to the line. And the rest of the hero versus villains would go, and I really don't feel like getting into them, but yeah. Bako just wins his, Todoroki wins his, and I'm gonna say Momo wins his, or hers as well. So, now, we're gonna get back into the video. You know what? People have been asking me for what if Deku was the only male with a quirk. Just because I'm gonna do what if Deku was the only female with a quirk. Just to keep it, around. So, yeah. Reverse harem jutsu. I'm just playing. Anyway. So, now, they basically got the news of the USJ as they find themselves at lunch. Deku walking through a crowd of people with a blank expression, so they're like, yeah, we shouldn't mess with that one. And yeah, so the media would finally, Shigaraki would disintegrate the door as the media would rush in, leaving that Deku is not rushing, he's basically walking as people are rushing past him because the emergency alarms were set. And Deku would notice that there are people outside, as he would basically snap his fingers, the room would be activated, and Deku would basically make, gravity, he would just make gravity heavier, as people would just start to fall to the ground. As Deku was like, alright, listen up. First of all, I don't know why you're running out of here like little bitches. We're all heroes here, and how are you going to be a hero if you're going to run away from battle? As he's basically just talking, he's like, alright, now that I proved that you're all wimps and a bunch of bitches, now, Mineta, actually, he'd be like, as you can see, everyone from my class, they kept their composure, which means that there's no room for any of you in my class, or he's like, there is no room for any of you in class 1A, if you would have run away like little bitches. And he would look over at Mineta, and he's like, actually, Mineta got kicked out. He would be like, yeah, so everyone really did keep their composure. So he's like, the class 1A, they're basically, some of them are on the ground, but most of them are standing like Toshinari and basically Bakugo because he has the will. So Deku's like, alright. And if you expect to ever get into class 1A, then you should stop sissying around. Or he's like, if you ever want to fill that spot in class 1A, then you shouldn't run away like little bitches. As he would release it, and people would look out the window to see that it's the media. And I would say Mono and Mo would just basically walk up to Deku, and he's like, "What, you think you're better than everyone just because you're in class 1A?" As Deku was immediately hit with a backlash. As people around him from other classes, they start to basically scream at Deku. Which Deku, he basically just wants to, hit them all with tendrils. But Toshinari would step up, and he's like, "Hey, it's not his fault. He speaks the truth. It's always it's in his DNA." I'm just gonna say it's in his DNA. He's always spoke what's on his mind. And if it's on his mind, it's getting out. Which Froppy would basically hear this with a little ribbit. So she would look towards Deku and she's like, it's harem. I'm just gonna give him a harem because, why not? So I just give him all 3 girls because, you can ride on me, Froppy, what that tongue do? What? Anyway, so yeah. Okay, and they're on the bus now. They're basically explaining their quirks, and they're talking about the top 3 strongest people in school, or in their class. That being Bakugo, Deku, and Toshinari. Todoroki wouldn't earn his spot on this, basically, on the chopping block yet, because, not chopping block, but he really wouldn't earn his spot in the top 3, because, all he did was freeze, basically freeze the building, getting his opponent's feet stuck, and just attacking them. So, yeah, he wouldn't really be at the top 3. That would be left to Bakugo, Deku, and Toshinari. So, they would arrive after Deku explains what Shadow Realm is. I don't really want to get into it. So they're walking, as Deku would basically walk to the door, and he's listening to what 13 is saying about how quirks can be dangerous. As Deku, his facial expression changes, which I would say Froppy notices that, just because I want Froppy to be the one who basically figures out that Deku has AFO. That's all for one, so yeah. Anyway, the villains would start to pop through the portal, as Deku would look down, and he's like, interesting. He's like, Mr. Aizawa, this was supposed to be a hero, or basically a hero rescuing, right? As he's like, yes, that's true. As Deku's like, well, there are a lot of villains basically entering the USJ. And he would look down, he's like, shit. As Deku's like, As he would create a room instantly. This room is invisible from the outside, but still. Now, Deku, he would create the room, and nobody with a teleportation quirk can even get in the room. So Kirigiri's like, that's strange, I can't teleport up there. As Deku would be like, alright, all who don't have the will to stay and fight, please exit the building. As basically a bunch of people from Class 1A will start to exit. I say that Froppy might have stayed, but Deku would just send her off because he wouldn't really know much about her quirk. He would only tell Bakugo, Todoroki, and Toshinari to stay. As he would also tell 13 to go with them because they might need guidance, plus there might be villains out there that could attack them. So, basically, Kirigiri's still trying to teleport over there, as Deku would basically release the room. And he would be like, alright boys, let's go. Well, actually, no. I would say that Toshinari is leading the charge. He would be like, alright boys, let's go. As he would start rushing down the stairs. Followed by Bakugo and basically Todoroki. Deku, he's basically walking down the stairs calmly. As Kirigiri's like, it's that boy. As he's like, we'll get him this time. As basically Deku is walking down the stairs, he sees that, basically Aizawa is getting overpowered. Or not overpowered, but basically there are too many villains for him to fight. So Deku would call out to Toshinari to rush over to Aizawa. As Toshinari would do this, doing a Carolina Smash. Basically, I'm pretty sure that's the X smart or the cross smash, but yeah. And Deku, he would finally make it down the stairs as a couple of villains would rush towards him. So Deku would be like, As he would basically grab both of their faces and he would slam them into the ground. As Deku would basically start to steal their quirks. And Deku was like, okay. Actually, I'm going to say that Deku only steals one of their quirks, as he basically tosses the villain into the lake area, and he would toss the other villain along with him. So Deku looks at his hand, he's like, alright. As Deku's like, this is interesting nonetheless, but whatever. So another villain would attack him as Deku would dodge a punch, and he would go for an uppercut of his own, and Deku's basically walking through taking out villains. Bakugo is basically rushing in like basically a madman, and he would basically get attacked by, I don't know why I'm saying basically so much, but Bakugo would get attacked by the Nomu. And I'm going to say that there are two Nomus this time, because they're being cautious. So Deku, he would basically be like, okay, as he would rush towards Bakugo. And when the Nomu threw a punch, I'm going to say that Deku, he would basically throw a punch of his own, which it would basically, I don't know why I'm saying basically, but he would throw a punch of his own, but I would say that Deku's shock absorption, it would protect it from, well, it would protect him. It's basically like they're clashing their shock absorptions, as Deku is the Nomu, or one of the Nomu, start to throw hands, and the other Nomu would rush in to basically capture Deku, because that's their objective, and Deku would basically start to be overwhelmed by the two of them, as Toshinari would see this, and he would rush towards Deku, and he's basically like, Detroit Smash! As he punches one of them in the face, and the other one, the one that he punched in the face, would hit the Nomu that Deku was fighting, as Deku was like, oh, Toshinari, you kindly, decided to join me. As he's like, I thought I had to call you. And basically, Toshinari's like, yeah, whatever. Now, in this what if, I'm going to have to classify Todoroki's fire quirk as a separate quirk from his half quirk, so yeah. Now, Deku and Toshinari will begin to fight Nomus. They would occasionally purposely fire attacks at each other's Nomus, so yeah. So All Might would finally arrive, rushing down to save his two sons, as he would punch the Nomu, or one of the Nomus, and it would basically knock the other Nomu. It's basically just they're hating each other, and they're being tossed away. So All Might's like, alright boys, I would tell you to go away now, but judging on how these things handled my punch, I'm gonna need you guys to stay and help me for a little bit. And he's like, it's time for a little family bonding, as he'd rush towards the Nomus. Deku close behind, and Toshinari as well. So Deku would follow up with a drop kick, kicking the Nomu into a building, well, not in the building, but into the boat, which the boat would explode. And Deku would be like, alright. As his arm would start inflating, Deku was like, I'm gonna end this thing. As it's inflating with an air cannon. And this air cannon is huge, because Deku's arm is inflating a lot. So you know this blast is gonna kill the Nomu. So he would be like, Toshinari, toss him over. As Toshinari would grab the Nomu by its arm, and he would basically throw it towards Deku using his muscle augmentation and a little bit of one for all. Deku would basically be like, you might want to move, as he releases the blast point blank in the Nomu's head, or basically the head, as the Nomu would do a bunch of flips in the air before falling down to the ground after getting his head basically destroyed. So Deku, he's like, okay. That's that then. As All Might's like looking at Deku, and Deku's just looking at the Nomu. As he's like, poor creature. It wasn't alive anyway. As All Might's like, what do you mean it wasn't alive? Deku's like, that's one of All Might's, well, All For One's test creature. He created a lot of them when I was with him. As All Might's like, oh. Alright, then I won't need to hold back. As All Might gets into a heated battle with the Nomu like he does in canon, doing his final, or his plus ultra smash, knocking the Nomu out of the building. So Toshinari's like, that's how you do it, Dad. As Deku's just standing there. And he's like, looking at the Nomu, he's like, poor creature, as he walks away. The heroes would arrive and start to deal with the villains. Aizawa wouldn't really get hurt in this one, although he still would get his arm disintegrated. Well, not disintegrated, but his skin disintegrated. So that still happens. Now, the heroes arrive and deal with the other ones, leaving that there is a 2-week suspension. Not suspension, but there is a 2-week out of school. Now, 2 weeks are up. Deku really hasn't done anything, but just basically reminisce about how he was with All For One. Now they're in school, as I was talking about the UA Sports Festival, which Deku, he's like, oh, okay. Now, I can't believe I got this far within 2 parts, but whatever. Anyway, Deku, 2 to 3 days go by, and they're now in the basically um, sports festival, which they're getting ready to. Deku, he would give the speech as everyone. Well, I would say Monoma and a couple of people are like, whatever, and then they're starting to talk about Deku, and Deku's just standing there as basically he would just walk off stage after giving his complete speech. The crowd would be like, they really don't like that kid, huh? So Deku would basically stand in line. As Kinjo, she would hit Monoma up the head or on the head, as Mona was literally in Deku's face talking crap. And she would say, sorry about this, idiot. As Deku's like, yeah, don't mention it. Or he won't say don't mention it, but he's like, yeah, whatever. As he stands there. Now, they're getting ready for the race. Todoroki would freeze Deku, everyone's feet, as Deku would basically just use his air cannons in his legs to basically break the ice around him. So he would rush towards Todoroki, and he would basically run past Todoroki. And the only reason he's running past Todoroki now is because he created a room, meaning that he increased his speed. And he would basically run out of the room, which means his speed increase has basically disappeared. Now Deku, he's by the canyon now, which means that he can basically boost himself off with his air cannons, which that's what he does. Deku jumps, and he boosts himself with his air cannon. It looks like he's air walking, basically. I need to watch some One Piece after this, because I just recorded 2 videos that I'm going to be posting. Anyway, so he's basically air walking as he finally gets past the canyon, and Todoroki close behind with Bakugo as well. So he would finally get to the mines, as Deku would create a room. And the mines, when Deku steps on them, because he's because he's weightless, then the mines wouldn't really go out, wouldn't really go off. Bakugo really wouldn't set them off either. Todoroki wouldn't either as well. So they would all pass through the gate. Deku first, Todoroki second, Bakugo third. So yeah, that's how that happened. Now, it is the cavalry battle, which Deku gets his 1,000,000 points, and nobody really wants to team up with him. Which Deku, he's like, okay, that hurts. As he would be approached by Tokiyami. No, he wouldn't really be approached by Todoroki. I'm pretty sure, if I said he, then Todoroki's a female in this. So he's approached by female Tokiyami and female Froppy. I mean, I don't know why I said female Froppy, but he's approached by Froppy. He's approached by Froppy. Which he's like, Midoriya, do you need team members? And Deku's like, I guess. There would be, basically, I would say that these two are relatively small. So they're talking about how, they can do this with 2 people since no one else really wanted to join. So Deku, he's basically a giant. Him and Toshinari are at All Might's shoulders, so they're tall. Deku also thick, okay? He's thick, okay? He doesn't have muscle mass like Toshinari does, but he is still a big boy. And I would say Froppy's already small, and I'm gonna make Tokiyami a little bit smaller. So Deku would just basically pick them both up by their waist, and he would put them on his shoulders, as he would basically put the headband on Froppy. As the crowd is like, interesting way of doing things, but wouldn't that slow him down? As Deku's like, alright, just leave it to me. As people would start to attack Deku. Deku would basically just put his hand up, and actually no, he was holding both of them, make sure that they don't fall. He would basically create a room, as he would basically just start to run around everybody. Everybody would start to feel weight. Well, he can't really increase the weight because it would increase on Tokiyami and Froppy as well, but he's basically just rushing past everyone. As that's what Deku does, he just runs away. He does get attacked by Bakugo, he does get attacked by Todoroki, but that fails because inside of Deku's room, it's basically a solid and it won't basically, it won't pierce through the room. So, yeah. Now, it is time for the fights. For the first round, it is Froppy versus, I forgot his name. It's Froppy versus the guy with the quirk that allows him to brainwash people. So, she beats him up easily because he's really not that strong. But, yeah. Now, it is Deku versus Uraraka. So, Uraraka's talking about how she's gonna, this is her debut and how she's gonna be a hero, and she won't basically be defeated by him. So, Deku, looking at her determination, he says, alright, as he starts to walk towards her, he says, I won't hold back then. because I won't disrespect you like that, as he would rush towards her. And she would basically just barely manage to move out of the way as she goes for a touch or try to tap to Deku. Which Deku's like, nah. As he dodges the tackle, he dodges her, and he basically inflates his arm, going for an air cannon, which he does, and it hits below her feet, which would still send her flying, plus a lot of debris would hit her as well. So Deku's basically hitting her with air cannons, as Uraraka's basically tapping the rocks. And as she finally has enough to attack Deku, Deku would look up as they're falling. And he would put both of his hands up into a final flash type stance as he shouts air, or ultimate air cannon, as he releases a huge blast that basically destroys all the rocks that are trying to hit him. Deku would look down at Uraraka as she would rush towards Deku, and she would fall unconscious. But just before falling, Deku would basically grab her, and I would say that he's holding her by her waist, not waist, but her stomach and her wrist. So yeah. Now Deku would basically pick her up, and he would walk her towards the medical team, putting her there, or just handing her to him. And this is like the first act of kindness that they've ever seen Deku do, since he's normally quiet or with Tokiyami or Todoroki. Not Todoroki, but he's normally with Tokiyami or basically his brother. So yeah. Now, a few fights pass, like Toshinari versus Bakugo. The bracket is a little bit weird, but yeah, it's Toshinari versus Bakugo. As Bakugo and Tokiyami, they start, not Tokiyami, Toshinari, sorry, their names are so similar. But Bakugo and Toshinari start to fight, as Toshinari obviously wins this one. Now it's Deku versus Todoroki. As Todoroki says that he'll never use his fire, as Deku's like, fine, as he rushes towards Todoroki, grabbing Todoroki by his face, saying that, you won't mind if I take it then, right? As basically Deku steals Todoroki's fire quirk, which causes him to pass out. And Deku wins the fight. So Deku will begin to walk away, as All Might looks at him and he's like, don't tell me that you did it, didn't you? As he has to have a little talk with Deku later on. So Deku, after stealing Todoroki's quirk, or Todoroki's fire side, he gets ready to fight his brother, basically Toshinari. Toshinari would rush at Deku as they have a long drawn-out battle. So, Deku, he would be the winner because this is his what if, by hitting Toshinari point blank in the stomach with an air cannon, knocking him out. And he was already worn out anyway, so it really wouldn't matter. So, Deku's standing on the stand, getting his first place medal, as All Might would say to him, Midoriya, or Izuku, did you, as Deku would just look at him, and he's like, what's the matter? It's not like he actually wanted the quirk. I'm just taking dead weight off of him. As Deku, he's like, alright, but anyway, I want you to ask him if he wants his fire side back. And if he does, then you give it back to him immediately. You got that, young man? As Deku would look over at All Might, who is somewhat mad. So Deku would be like, yes, sir. As he would say, you are a great hero, young man. And he would walk away. And he would start to tell people their flaws and what they're good at. And yeah, so that's the end of the USJ, not the USJ, but that's the end of the USJ arc and I forgot this arc. But anyway, thank you for watching. There won't be a like goal in this video, and goodbye. Thank you.